and welcome back to our second trance channeling session with Joanna the Healer. Go back to the first video where I explained the whole darn thing and what we're doing. But just to give you a quick recap, I'm going to be putting Joanna into deep trance. And then so I'll fast forward all that. And then we'll get to when Joanna talks to the Council of Nine. Maybe she'll be channeling someone else. But for sure, Joanna's getting into a trance channel state. And I've got a million questions to ask her higher self, her guides, the Council of Nine. We'll see who shows up. So how you feeling, Joanna? Are you ready for me to start this? And then we'll fast forward. Okay, we'll see you on the other side. Who are we speaking with today?
The Council.
Pardon me?
The Council.
The Council of Nine is back. We're so happy to have you back.
Well, happy to be here.
This is really exciting. I wanted to ask a few quick questions that Joanna received from Spirit to see if we can get some clarity before I go forward with all of the questions that I have for you today. Is that okay?
Yes.
Joanna has received very recently a download about harvest and wheat and perhaps a connection to the law of one. Can you please give some clarity on that?
Raw consciousness is one of our collaborators.
Oh,
We draw wisdom from this energy in order to supplement it with our wisdom so that we can then pass it on to you. We are collaborators, you would say.
Wonderful. So you're having a return because the law of one materials was channeled quite a few years ago, and now it's coming back to humanity. Is that correct?
It has always been overseeing humanity's progress, albeit from far. It is during this time of challenges in the human's world that we have asked for assistance in order to share with you what we now know.
What do you now know, and how will that help humanity at this time in history?
What we will tell you is that you, as the fellow humans, are ready to move beyond that which you have known for eons to be you and true. In essence, what is true to you is changing, and a new truth unveils or reveals itself. And that's because humanity is ready to participate with more and in more alignment with that which we call source.
Mm-hmm.
It is a graduation per se. And although each and every person is on their own individual journey, humans are all on the same trajectory. In other words, what is to come is eventually inevitable. What is to come, you may ask? Essentially, more peace on earth. But peace is not something you find in your back pocket because you forgot it's there. Peace always lives in the heart. And when the humans are too preoccupied with what is in their chaotic mind, they are not able to experience more peace. To put it differently, to experience more peace in your world, you have to come from the space of the heart.
Mm-hmm. And the council gave us that advice in the last session too, that we are all being called to drop into our hearts. Do you have some good advice for us on how we can get out of our monkey minds so much and drop into our hearts more?
First and foremost is to realize that you do have a heart beyond the one in your physical being, but heart as a space, as a force, as an essence. And the reminder simply is, pay attention and feel that which is true to you. Without the feeling part of it, you don't know what your truth is. And truth coming purely from the logical mind is a truth that's very limited. Your limitations are based on what you deem is true to you. And what is true to you is that you have forgotten that you are part of the one. And that is the ultimate truth. Always was, always will be, and there is no escaping it. However, when humans forget who they are and where they come from and what is inside of them, they live predominantly in their heads. The mind is very sharp, but it divides. And the moment there is more division is the moment where more suffering is introduced. So, to put it in other way, to reduce, let's say, the level of suffering, humans must move from the mind to the heart, as that is where peace lives. When humans live in the mind, and the mind is very chaotic, humans live life from the space of chaos. And from that space, humans tell themselves that life is difficult. And although human experience is certainly not an easy one, to lessen the level of difficulty would require the human to reach into their heart. This is the purpose of transcendence, moving beyond or transcending the human mind. This is where your potential lies, beyond the limitations of your human mind. So it is important to understand and to see what is in the mind. For as long as something is in the mind, and the mind is responsible for creation, the more chaos and suffering that lives within the mind, the more chaos and suffering will be experienced in your world.
That's beautiful.
By opening up to what is inside the mind, one can release that which is limiting. However, without that, nothing can change. So, in order for humans' experience to change, humans have to change their mind.
That's so interesting, because one of my questions is about why humans resist change so much. So you went ahead and read my question before, it seems.
You're welcome.
Yes. I will say, though, as a human, we often confuse our feelings with gut feelings, and gut feelings are usually fear-based. So is there maybe a hot tip you can give us, some good advice on not trusting those fear-based feelings and knowing the difference between the feeling that's going to open our heart versus the feeling that's going to close us off to our heart?
First and foremost, redefine your relationship with fear. And don't necessarily consider it as something good nor bad. Simply see it as a vehicle to your ascension. How? By seeing what your fear is and understanding the fear itself, you will shift your relationship with it so that you don't fear it nearly as much. It is through the understanding of your own fear that you essentially become enlightened. To put it simply, shedding light on your greatest fears will reduce the level of limitation the fear has over you.
Thank you. I have to say that the day that we are taping this, and both Joanna and myself live in Canada, the day we are taping this is the day of the American election. And as a Canadian watching, I have so much empathy and compassion for the American people. Can you give us any advice for Americans watching during this pivotal time in their history?
A lot of people in what you call the Americas are fearing change. Yet change is inevitable. And it is through a drastic change where many fears are being faced. Humanity as a whole has many fears around survival. Survival fears are always rooted in not feeling safe. So for most people in the America, not feeling safe is the root of their problem, shall we say. By addressing these primal fears, humans begin to understand themselves more, and their level of confidence begins to grow. So it is through this process of tremendous upheaval, we would say, is when the human decides to change. You are all in a space of deciding right now how you want to live the rest of your life. And not everyone is in agreement of what that is. Unless humans find a common ground, there will always be a division. So the biggest question anyone could ever ask themselves right now is, what is it ultimately that I am about? If the answer is ultimately, I am about love and peace, then channel love and peace into the world. But one cannot channel love and peace into the world unless one experiences peace from within. So as humans are going through this upheaval process, certain fears are being magnified. And these fears act as roadblocks to one's ascension. It is moving through and beyond the fear that human consciousness begins to expand. And many people right now in the world are looking at what they're objecting. In other words, what they are looking at. And what they are looking at is nothing more than a co-creation of what is within with what is without.
That's beautiful. And if I could just ask one more question about our current times. There's an 1111 portal coming up in a few days. Can you tell us what the 1111 portal is about this time?
You could call it a leap of faith. When you are beginning to take chances, not knowing exactly what the outcome is. And that produces or can produce a lot of fears because it is tied to the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we said to you that the unknown is better than what you have right now? Would you still fear it as much? The answer is likely no. So to put it simply, it would behoove the human being to be mindful of their projections and shift their mind about expectations. If you are expecting the worst, you will come to it from the space of fear and lack, which means you are not as open to receiving. On the other hand, if you come from a space of wholeness, you are much more open to what it is that is waiting for you to be received. In order for you, and we don't mean you, Jenny, to experience more love, one has to be open to receive it. And that can never happen without connecting to the heart or with the heart. So in essence, this portal and this time in your history is about reconnecting to the unconscious parts of you, aspects of you, in order so that you can remember where you come from. And it is from that space that humans begin to create consciously and much more powerfully. This essence or portal, as you call it, 1111, is an opportunity to take new steps, leaps of faith, in order to experience something more. It's giving yourself or allowing yourself to have the opportunities to experience something different. But in order to experience something different, you must project that to the outside. Therefore, you must know what is within that you are currently projecting. If you are projecting a lot of fear and lack, this becomes the process of your co-creation. Be more, think less.
This reminds me of your messages on the last video too, because we got into shadow work and the importance of looking at our shadows and getting out of victimhood stories. I feel like it's this, you're giving us the same message, but even in more clarity today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I feel like these times that we've just been talking about are preparing us for 2025 and then 2026 and beyond. Do you have any further advice on that, just in looking ahead a little bit more and what we can do to prepare?
Without going into predictions, what we would say is keep your focus on what is in front of you. Pay less attention to what could be and more attention to what you are willing to experience right now. For anything you put into practice right now will be evident for the years to come.
I love that.
Change is inevitable. How things change, a lot of it is still, can we say, undecided.
Yeah.
And that's because humanity is in a process of deciding to experience something more. So the best advice that we would give is make sure you know what is in your heart, because what is in your heart is what you project forth. Focus on love rather than fear or lack. Do what is necessary in order to avoid lack, we would say, but don't be preoccupied with it. For when you are preoccupied with it, you are engaged in that energy, and that becomes then your experience. In other words, bring more love into your life.
And if we are stuck in something that isn't serving us in our monkey mind or a repeated knee-jerk reaction, would you advise it's really important to become an observer first so that we can look at it and then we can move through it?
The idea of stuckness is an interesting concept to us because we see you as powerful creators. So if you refer to yourself as stuck, then at least on some fundamental level, you are creating this stuckness. It is of your own doing. It is of your own making. So it would behoove you to understand what makes you stuck. What is the reason for you being stuck? What is holding you back, if you will? And you will come to understand that what is holding you back is usually you. In other words, humans tend to stand in their own way of happiness for various reasons. Predominant one being, I am not worthy. Yet how can you be not worthy when you are the essence of what we call God.
Mhm. And we're here. That is proof enough, right? That we're here, and therefore we are worthy of being here.
Just because.
Mhm. So I have to ask you, I've heard so many channelers talking about the rise of the divine feminine. Can you please explain what is the divine feminine, or the Sophia channeling, or the Hathors, or however you want to say it? Can you please talk to us about this rise and what it is bringing to humanity?
This is this vehicle's favorite subject right now. She revels in the divine feminine. And that's because she herself has suppressed it. And divine feminine is very powerful. It's the type of energy or frequency that is very hard to put into words or concepts. But you know it by the way it feels. And it feels motherly, nurturing, calm, peaceful, and allowing. In order for allowing to happen, there has to be a certain level of openness that must take place. To put it simply, the divine feminine is all about becoming more open to the divine. It is a powerful gift you all possess, but it is a part of you that has been suppressed for a very long time. The divine feminine is very life-affirming.
Mhm.
It stands for peace, it stands for grace, and it stands for unity. So the divine feminine is bringing oneness into this world. It's a very powerful tool, if you will, for creation. It is a very creative source. It can be challenging at times because it gives life, but it also ensures death. And one with the other, without the other, cannot exist. It is a powerful frequency of transformation. It also allows us to feel more, to be more present in the body, to be at one and at peace with yourself, to feel whole once again.
Mhm.
So we could say that the divine feminine is not only very nurturing, but extraordinarily healing.
Mhm. Just even hearing these words has made me feel so at peace. And I've read Joanna's birth chart. She is divinely feminine, and I feel like she's being activated right now to step into her divine feminine. It's written all over her chart, so I can see it. And I'm wondering, Joanna has told me previous to this trans channel session here that she's going through some activations right now. Um, can you give her some guidance on that, on what's been going on for her and how she's stepping more into this divine feminine?
There is a part of her, a big part of her still, that is afraid of possessing this power because it can feel heavy at times. Not because it's heavy in a negative way, but because it is so powerfully substantial. And in order to hold that energy within the body, she has to feel safe. And this has been her biggest struggle throughout lifetimes.
Mm. Can we help her clear that?
The more she trusts the process and her own divinity, the more she will be at peace with that which she knows to be true. That she and you and everyone else is an extraordinarily powerful being.
Mhm.
And there is no level of denying it that makes it less so. It is a state of being. It feels very different.
Mm.
It feels substantial. And it feels expanded.
Mhm.
She is not used to embodying this level of expansion.
Mm.
Her soul has been yearning that
Mm.
for many lifetimes.
Mm.
She too had to learn how to suppress in order so that she wouldn't be killed.
Mhm.
So there is a tremendous level of vulnerability that comes with holding this space, because it's openness, it's allowing,
Mm.
it's no longer escaping, it's facing. It's no longer moving away from, it's uniting.
Mm.
This level of awareness makes her feel, or reminds her, what it's like to feel at home.
Mm.
Meaning being at home within herself,
Mhm.
where there is no more separation,
Mm.
as this energy is a very unifying field. It also means that in order for her to fully embody this energy, she needs to focus on breathing into her heart, as this is where this energy stems from.
Mhm. We keep hearing that from you. And I so appreciate Joanna being so open through you about her experience, but I feel like it's a message for all of us.
It is en masse, yes.
Yes. Yes. So Thoth has been showing up for Joanna in her sessions and in her channeling online and in her private sessions as well. So who is Thoth, and what is Thoth's message to humanity right now?
Be more or become more than you can handle. I don't know what that means.
I love it, how you've been put on the spot there. And let's get our conscious mind out of the room. You're welcome to watch this, but I think that surprised Joanna a little bit. She's still going to go back into trance. She's still there with us, but I love that. Thoth has been with Joanna, I think, for a long time. That came up in our QHHT session that we did a long time ago. So I think Thoth is one of Joanna's guides.
She's used to working with this entity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a connection to Egypt with Joanna, I've noticed when we get into channeling sessions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, this being is one of her teachers.
Mm. Beautiful. I feel like
She
Joanna
still has a
did-
difficult time with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off, but I feel like Joanna has been in mystery schools in past lives, and I feel like she's bringing mystery schools to modern day life as well. Am I correct in my analysis of that?
What she is doing or bringing is channeling information through her beingness, through her vehicle as the body.
Mm-hmm.
What she channels is nothing new to you.
Mm-hmm.
She's simply a vehicle for a reminder.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to ask an astrology question, of course. We've got an upcoming full moon in Taurus. It's right next to Uranus, and it's right next to the asteroid Algol. Algol represents losing your head. Uranus represents shock and surprises. So how can we embrace a lunar event like this without fear and be open to change and be open to the messages that need to receive or close the doors that need to be closed. Can you give us some guidance on that?
Yes, although none of this is new information to you all, don't resist the change. Notice what comes up for you with regards to this resistance. What is it that you are resisting? For the moment you see what you are resisting, you will begin to choose to resist it less. You are in a dynamic growth period as human beings. Change is inevitable. What's on the other side of this change is greater than you can even imagine. However, from your vantage point of view, all you see is red.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine standing in front of a massive planet that's red and yellow in color. And notice how your body responds or reacts to this planet in front of you. You will likely experience a certain discomfort in your chest. Notice what this discomfort is, what is being triggered, and why at this particular time. Seeing it allows you to transcend it, to transform it, to become more than what you are resisting. More, not less.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting that you give us that advice, because I've been hearing from other channelers too that there's going to be disclosure soon. So aliens will disclose to humans, and they're thinking it's going to be at 2026, maybe a little bit later than that. And that would be good advice as well, would you say, if this does happen, so that we don't get afraid?
Some humans fear cataclysmic events. But whether they happen or not happen will very much depend on what takes place in 2025. The year 2025 is a space where a lot can take place. And depending on what takes place, you will experience 2026, 2027, and furthermore. Again, we would collectively suggest that you focus on what is in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
rather than projecting the worst forward.
Mm-hmm.
For the worst hasn't happened yet, and it doesn't have to. But humans must be willing to change. Some shakeups are inevitable, but it does not have to be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Stay focused on grounding, being present, healing your shadows, and hope for the best.
Thank you. How's Joanna? Can we ask a few more questions?
Yes, please.
Okay. So whenever I've done deep meditations and prayers to Yeshua, he shows up to me as very funny, very jokester, like a trickster, joking all the time. Can you maybe shed some light on Yeshua and truly who he is?
Yeshua stepping forward. Humans. Stop pretending you don't know me. You know me very well. I am in your heart, not in your mind. The less you think about me, and the more you feel me, the more you will understand what I'm all about. I am not here to introduce fear. I'm not here to introduce poverty. I'm simply here to remind you yet again who you really are and what you come from. And sometimes, in order for me to deliver this message effectively, I bring with me a high dose of humor. Humor, laughter, makes everything a little bit lighter. In essence, I'm here to help you shed light on yourself. You play an important role in this equation, as you, Jenny. And by allowing myself and others to communicate with you, you are more at comfort with yourself. And when you are at comfort with yourself, we can communicate through you much more effectively.
Mm-hmm.
We would rather assist you in a way that it's fun and light than in a way that feels heavy and laborious.
Mm-hmm.
For one, you are no longer as serious. You are more playful. You are more childlike. And this is one of the most effective ways to reach people's hearts. And sometimes I introduce humor in order for that to happen, although I am a funny man.
You are. It works for me very well. And I have said to you in prayer many times how I apologize for shutting you out. For me, it was a religious upbringing that it didn't align. The way they were teaching what you said and what you did, it didn't align for me. So it shut me down to you. But as I've opened my heart, I realize that you are absolutely hilarious. And you do make me feel younger as I get older. You help me with that. And you're right, it does connect with people when you come across as fun and not so serious. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any advice for humanity at this time since we've got you on the mic?
Number one, never stop laughing and having fun. Don't disregard what is serious and needs to be taken care of, but never stop laughing. Never stop enjoying your life. Never allow yourself to live in fear. And although fear has its benefits, and it is a necessary part of a human life, by cultivating a different relationship with your fear, you will begin to change your life. Notice what makes you fearful, and then challenge it in appropriate ways. It is the fear that's in the human's mind that is the biggest fear humans are afraid of. It's the what if something happens? What if something good happens? It's always about expecting the best, not necessarily denying that the worst could happen, but not focusing your entire energy on that. It reduces your level of vibration. My job, if you will, is to help you vibrate higher. One of the ways to vibrate higher is to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It's to share. It's to embody happiness. Not always an easy thing to do. And sometimes it is a challenge and a struggle. So I'm not here to tell you to deny your fears. I'm here to share with you, hopefully, so that you don't let fear decide your life for you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let your fear dictate how you live your life. Be mindful of it. Don't let it rule you.
Yes. This feels very warm. Your message feels very warm and calming, just like when Joanna was talking about the divine feminine energy. It feels like the same thing to me. Am I correct in feeling that?
Joanna would tell you that it feels almost exactly the same. It is the same essence, we would say. It carries with it a certain level of frequency, and it is one of unconditional love. So if you think of a mother and her love towards her child, you often think of unconditional love.
Mhm.
This is the same energy that I bring,
Mm.
for I too embody the divine feminine in me.
Mm. That feels right. Much better than what my religion taught me.
And in fact, this is exactly what helps me be relatable to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a signature, vibrational signature you deeply recognize. It is a known to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is what Christ consciousness is. And I feel like it's coming to the planet. And I feel like that's why you and all others are telling us to open up our hearts. And I feel like that's the way that we can get to this place of heaven on earth. Am I correct?
Couldn't have said better myself.
No. Mm-hmm.
You could think of Christ consciousness and the divine feminine as one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly the same, but it's very closely related.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's inseparable.
Yes.
The divine feminine is about love. Christ consciousness, as you call it, is also about divine love. There's no difference. It's just a difference of expression.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I, on the other hand, showed up to you as a woman, you wouldn't take me as seriously.
Ouch. We're still there, hey?
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Are you proud of us, humans? Are we doing okay in your books?
That is not the word we would choose, although it is true. What we would say instead is this: we always knew you could do it,
Mm-hmm.
or we have faith in you. We know and see what you are capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you can't, but we see it. And because we see it, we believe in you. You need someone to believe in you. It makes it much more significant.
Mm-hmm.
When I believe in you, you feel supported.
Mm-hmm.
You feel you have an ally. You feel you have a trusted friend, which makes your journey much less alone.
Yes.
So when you are journeying with me, you never feel alone. And that is a much more comfortable space to be in.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of that poem, The Footprints in the Sand, because you only saw one set of footprints. And so the person says, well, where were you? I thought you were always with me. Where's your set? And then you said, well, it's because I was carrying you. So I love that.
Beautifully put.
Yes. Thank you. How's Joanna feeling?
She's okay for a few moments.
A couple more minutes? Okay. Well, I can't help but ask, for those who say there will be a second coming of Christ, is it a physical being or is it this Christ consciousness that we have been so beautifully discussing?
To be Christed is to reconnect back to your Christ consciousness, which is all about love and unity. It's the expression of. So it is not an event per se.
Mm-hmm.
It is a process of becoming that. You are in the process of becoming that.
Mm-hmm.
We would use the words embodying that.
Yes.
And if you are not embodying that right now, it's because you have suppressed it. So this is more an introduction of something that is already within you. And that often comes with self-love and self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Are there physical signs that it is or is not happening for each of us?
I, as Joanna, am seeing changes to the body, but I cannot discern what the changes are.
So some people call them ascension symptoms, or ailments that are working their way out. Is that correct?
What I would describe it is a frequency or energy that works from within, and then it spreads to without. It's an internal process. I almost see it as the energy within the body is changing.
Mm.
As if to say the body is getting used to being more electrified or running on a higher octane, if you will. And through that process, there's a period of time where the body needs to purge, because this higher frequency brings up blockages or emotional toxins. So the body may go, and often does go, through purging, which could be expressed as ringing in the ears,
Mm-hmm.
headaches, flu-like symptoms, even anxiety or panic attacks.
Mm-hmm. What about weight gain?
I see both weight loss and weight gain, depending on each individual.
Mm.
The weight gain feels to me more like a grounding effect.
Mm.
The body is still a body. It still needs to be grounded.
Well, that's so interesting.
And there's a period of recalibration, if you will, for the body to get used to vibrating higher.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the body may feel very off balance, and weight gain helps to ground the physical body more to earth.
Mm. Well, yay me. Now I know why.
It's not permanent.
Yay. This was really fun, and I have 5 million more questions, but I can tell Joanna's back now, and that's fantastic. We love Joanna's channeling anyways. But we want to thank everybody that showed up today. We got so much clarity. Wow. Is Joanna able to come out and we can do a quick debrief for the listeners?
Yes, please. Here, I think.
You're here. Do you remember anything?
I remember bits and pieces.
Yes.
I was aware of what was coming through, but I know we talked about feminine. I know we talked about the heart. I know Yeshua showed up.
Yes. Wow. That was beautiful.
That was kind of funny.
How did that feel for you as the channel?
Weirdly normal.
Yes.
Yeah, weirdly normal. I think I have a pretty good relationship with him now versus before.
Yes.
But
Me
it took
too.
me a long time.
It took me a while.
Yeah.
Religious dogma got
Yeah.
me out of it. I was
Yeah.
sharing that.
I don't, there's still a little bit of me that does, but I don't put him on a pedestal, but I have tremendous respect for him. Tremendous respect. But I try not to put him on a pedestal, because that doesn't work.
No.
And he wants to knock me off, or he just, the moment I put him on a pedestal, my ego kicks in, and that's just not a good combination. Yeah, but I have a lot of respect for him. But he feels like a buddy to me. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like a colleague.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel about him
Like a
too.
colleague.
Very normal.
Yeah. How was it? What did it? Any of it make
This
sense?
one was really good. It felt so soft and so good. I feel like the feminine really came through today, and it felt
Yes.
so warm. And then I would get goosebumps, but then I was warm. I felt like it was a very calming and peaceful message today.
That's what I noticed too. And actually, the feminine energy came through when you were already counting me at the very beginning. That's how I was going, like, oh, because I was just feeling that expansion. Yeah, I do remember one thing about the feminine and the Christ consciousness, and somehow it feels very similar.
That's what we were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it felt that way for me. So I brought that up with
yeah.
Yeshua.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not exactly, but very similar. You'll have to go back and listen.
Yeah, it feels I don't know how to explain it, but it feels slightly different, but very, very similar. But if I think about it logically, the message is the same. It's to be in the heart,
Yes.
right? Healing.
Some
The
repeated messages about that, the heart and change. The word
Mhm.
change was used. If we were to go back and just see how many times the word change got brought up.
Mm,
It
mm,
was so funny because that was one of my questions that I didn't even get to because I said that. I said, "Oh my goodness, that was going to be
mhm,
one of, you must have read my questions."
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah.
It's a big
Yeah.
message for us right now.
Yeah, what I felt very strongly is that there's something about 26, 27, and I already got that a few days ago, but it was like, that was almost like, don't focus on that, just focus on 20. Somehow the 2025 is a really pivotal year.
Yes.
Pivot. It feels, you mentioned something about astrology that
In
you
the
felt that,
astrology, it's
yeah.
big. This year was 2024 was a really difficult, and you could see it when you were entering to 2024, you could see the difficulty.
Hmm.
I think you
Hmm.
thought 2020 was the big difficulty, and it showed up in astrology, but actually 2024 was even more of a doozy when it came to the astrology charts. So 2025 is the change, and then things are going to change after 2025. So you downloaded that as
Yeah,
well.
it felt that what 2024 feels like like a year of a lot of this. 2025 feels more settled, but it is as a result of this. And then whatever happens in 2025, whatever structures are going to be put forth, that will determine the years coming.
Mhm.
But what I got strongly is that whatever is coming is not necessarily decided yet. A lot will depend on what happens in 2025. That's how I'm perceiving it. It's almost like don't worry over there. Just focus on what's here.
That came through a
Yeah.
lot. Just look in front of
Yeah.
you now. Look in
Yeah.
front of you
Yeah.
now.
And I actually think that's why, like even with you, what you do and what I do, the focus on facing your shadows is so important because facing shadows allows people to move beyond their shadows, which allows them to leave their past behind so they can create a brand new solid foundation. And then we can build on that, right? Not to mention that I feel energetically we're moving so much faster. Like, I don't know where the time goes. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. Everything is moving faster. And my understanding is that the higher we vibrate in frequency, the faster everything moves. Well, that makes sense because this is so dense because it's such a slow vibration. And the higher we go, the faster everything moves. So our ability to create and to manifest is much faster too. So depending on what we put in place in the next upcoming year will determine a lot of what we will experience. But that logically makes sense to me. And I feel that's why there is so much um, going on, especially in the United States, and it's so divided. Like it's so divided. But what the division does, it actually shows the problem. Because here's the interesting thing. I feel like the division was always there, but it was in our face. Now it's in our face.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like it's always been there.
Yeah.
And what I got the other day was that part of the feminine, that part of the destructive force of feminine, it's not that it's destructive, but it 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 catalyzes things to come up to the surface. It exposes things. And when things are exposed, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't even know that that was there.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot is being, and on so many different levels, like so much is being exposed right now.
That's what
And I'm,
Pluto's been doing in Capricorn.
okay, and I'm hearing the word corruption, but corruption is everywhere. But corruption has
Right.
always been. It's just that, as Joanna speaking, we've accepted it. We just kind of, and
Right.
now we're going like, wait a second, I
Wait
don't
a
want to
second.
accept it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because Pluto's been going through Capricorn. We're just finishing it up. It's going into Aquarius on November the 19th. Okay, we're recording this on November the 5th, the day of the election. And I did ask
It's
the
today,
council
isn't
about
it?
that.
It's today, isn't it?
I did ask the council about that. They'll have to
And
go back
it's
and see
and
what
it's
they
the
said.
number 5, which is change.
So yeah. So with it going
Hmm.
with Pluto going through Capricorn, it's all that top-down structure that is it is being revealed, just like what you're saying, right? It's all being revealed and collapsed,
magnified. Yeah.
magnified and collapsed.
Yeah.
So with
Yeah.
Pluto going into Aquarius, that does suggest power to the people.
Yeah. Here's what I find interesting, going back to the divine feminine. One of the contenders is a female. Yin and yang. We have been mostly in the yang energy, and now she's representing the yin. So even just from that perspective,
Mhm.
um she's bringing in the feminine. Now, obviously, she has masculine traits because she's in the position, but she is, and I don't. Part of me goes, I don't know if United States is ready for that. I don't know. I don't know. Because it represents such a drastic change from what was, just energetically speaking,
Yeah.
right?
They weren't ready for Hillary, right? They weren't ready for Hillary when she ran.
Yeah.
Are they ready now? And like Mexico just got a new female, and
Oh, are you serious?
yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
not so long ago, like a few
Yeah.
months ago.
There's definitely something there. I'm not into politics, but I just have, whereas before I felt T would win, not because I would want him to, but I feel like, it's going to be pretty close.
Mhm.
I also do feel, and I hope I'm wrong, that doesn't matter which side wins, there's going to be problems.
Yeah. And that's exactly what the astrology is saying.
Mhm.
It's something's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, both of them are her intentions pure, 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 pure? She's a politician, you know?
Yeah.
Are his intentions pure? No. Well, maybe he believes in it. Anyway, not getting into it. But
No, we're Canadian, okay?
yeah, 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 yeah,
We are not.
yeah, yeah. But she definitely brings with her a level of purity, even if just on certain subjects. It's just a whole idea of her being a female. So I think she's got a. I think she might kick his butt. I think I'm not pro one or the other because I'm so glad I'm not into politics because that's crazy.
Oh,
But
I've become so apolitical with Pluto going to
yeah,
Capricorn because and you would ask most people, like Pluto started in Capricorn in 2008. Most people knew I'm blue, I'm red. Most people knew. Now, most people are like,
yeah, that's the space
don't
in
really like
between.
them, any of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, it'll be interesting to see what happens, man. Wow, crazy, crazy world. But I didn't know that in Mexico they got a female. This is how much I know about politics.
Right. Yeah,
Not
no.
nothing.
I'm not a political person, but there were so many elections this year in 2024 across the world.
That I heard. Yeah,
It's
like 50%
changing the
of,
world,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Um, something about like what wants to come through me, like even the whole religion concept is such male dominated. And when I was in, I'll share it. When I was in Peru in one of my plant ceremonies, I was actually shown how a religion masked ancient wisdom, especially Egyptian ancient wisdom. Like I saw this massive knowledge and awareness, and there was this priest standing in front of it. It's like, no, you don't see anything. No, there's nothing here for you to see. And I thought that was kind of interesting.